Brainstorming and sharing ideas is the funnest part of the creative process. We decided to skip the boring part of actually making stuff and just do the fun part. I'm your host, Tom Walma,
I'm Rishabh here.
I'm Norman.
and this is Creativity Wasted. Okay, so I'm kind of a nerd. I listen to like nerdy podcasts, and there's a guy named Malcolm Gladwell. He makes it's kind of like Neil deGrasse Tyson or Bill Nye. He's like a popular science guy, but he's more like economics, sociology, stuff like that. And he was talking about combating crime in the inner cities and different things that different cities have tried. For example, like gun buybacks and like increased policing and going door to door to ask people to report crime, stuff like that. And what they said that I found interesting is that there's this whole ethos of like, don't snitch. And he said that that isn't really the reason that going door to door doesn't help fight crime very well. He said the reason is that people that would snitch would report crime, want to report crime, but they're too scared. They're like in their house and too scared to go outside, like old grandmas and stuff. And so it's not that they don't want to snitch, it's that they don't have any valuable information. I'm sure there's degrees on that, but that was the point he was making. And that gave me the idea of, you know how like ring cams are a big thing in like the suburbs. Everybody's got a ring cam. And then there's also like police surveillance on these like street lights and stuff. And it's like connected to a big police AI database infrastructure, Big Brother stuff. Like, why can't we have something that's like in between that? So like a neighborhood, like an apartment complex or a series of houses, like a block in a neighborhood, they have like their own surveillance, like a bunch of cameras that people can monitor that live there. They control the cameras so the police can't see them, but the person who would report crime, who wants their neighborhood to be safe but is too scared to go outside, they can be watching these cameras. They can be the neighborhood spy is what I called it, but that's probably a bad connotation. And they could maybe take screenshots of it and and give it to the cops if they're reporting a crime. So there would be a person in between the crime and the cops who could like put some humanity into it. Like, this guy really is a troublemaker. He beat up my grandson. he's stabbed somebody. Like, he shouldn't be here. We need to get him arrested. But like the guy who just bought pot once from a drug dealer in the neighborhood, but he's a good kid, they don't need to report him to the cops. And also like having this like it's like almost like an expanded ring camera network shared among neighbors. Having that, if it works, then the cops don't need to be patrolling the neighborhood all the time. So people might like it because the cops don't need to be there all the time if the friendly neighborhood grandmas are helping keep the local crime out. So it'd be like probably like 5G or something. People could put cameras like in their houses, or maybe there'd be a way to put them on the street lamps, like some service, some corporation that could do it for them. But it wouldn't be connected straight to the police database. It would still be controlled locally. And it's like a high-tech neighborhood watch type of thing. Maybe even like all the AI technology of like spotting people could be downloaded regularly into that to help people patrol their own neighborhoods via the cameras. And it could have like the gunshot location trackers and all the stuff that the police have, but it's just in these local little bubbles instead of all connected to some big brother, like out of the neighborhood. So that's the idea.
And just to clarify, the people who will be reporting using this system are elderly people.
Wouldn't have to be, but I think someone who's home all the time, who those tend to be the nosy neighborhoods in the upper middle class neighborhoods. It tends to be older folks. I'm just assuming that's who would be interested, but it could be anybody.
Gotcha.
And they would have to be anonymous, so the criminals can't find who's reporting them.
But then that data is, or the footage or whatever, is given to the local police department so they can investigate and get that person.
Yeah, it's collected manually by an individual in the local neighborhood who's volunteering to spy, and then sent via like an email, whatever. It's not like the cops aren't. Maybe there could be encryption and stuff to keep the cops from sniffing in. I think it would as soon as the cops got involved, it would ruin it. It'd be basically just the same thing as what there is now.
Yeah. That was one of my main dilemmas is how do you keep Big Brother out of this? Because even if you give the footage or just the surveillance to cops, then you have the Big Brother involved already. But
maybe it could even be over Facebook. Like you give a neighbor access to your camera. So it's not like every neighbor has access to every camera. It's a little more piecemeal. Like, do you allow this person to access the camera? Yes, no. Maybe something like that.
Maybe if there was like a crime reported like within a certain radius of your house. So like if there's like 6 houses that this happened outside of, there's like a way they could request only those 6 people. Like, hey, do you have any footage that we could review or anything like that? Because the thing with posting it publicly too, like if they did ever want to get retaliation, you could like look at the camera angle and figure out what house told on you. You know.
yeah.
Oh, that's true. Well, hopefully, the police might be able to figure it out, but hopefully the criminal doesn't get access to the thing that's getting sent to the cops. Because then you're right that there's always ways where things can be found out. But I honestly think that in some cases the criminals might be okay with this. I mean, they might get mad if they get busted, but if it keeps the cops out, maybe they just retreat farther to do the drug deals, maybe a little farther away from where people live. And so people who live in the apartment complex can get on the bus, and there's not the drug deal happening right there. It's happening just a little bit farther down the block, whatever. I'm not an expert on the inner city. I mean, some urban layouts might not work. Some it might. But it was just a thought of a thing that could be tried. Because there is the whole Nextdoor app among middle to upper class where it's like the neighborhood gossip. Like, I think that's still fairly popular. It was big like 5-10 years ago when it was new. And it was like people gossiping about their neighbors, like, oh, this person's music was too loud, or who's this guy walking down the street that we don't know? This guy's lights on at 3 a.m. What's he doing? It's all like gossip about neighbors. So I think if upper middle class people care that much about what their neighbors are doing, maybe poorer people would too, given that crime affects their lives more than a guy blaring his stereo affects upper class lives. It's more urgent to know what's going on.
A guy's out with his goat, and like grazing his grass.
Yeah, this guy's getting his lawn cut by a goat. What's wrong with him? That's so weird.
Yeah. How do you feel like about? Do you think people would be comfortable living in an area like that where there's so much surveillance?
I think they'd be more comfortable than if the cops were doing it or the government.
Yeah, because nowadays it's like the footage is being saved to a cloud and your data is being stolen. That kind of fears are out there. So in the mix of all that, it's just
But this is like the anti-cloud. This is like everything is local. I mean, maybe it could use a cloud, but it wouldn't have to. It could be some guy's got a network attacks, like a NAS server thing that it all gets saved to. Well, then he would be a target. But or people are just maybe there's like a 30-minute storage that's built into the camera, or like a dash cam, or I don't know. There's different ways you could do it, but I think there's a way to do it that's less Big Brothery,
yeah.
and more neighborhood watch, but high tech.
Hmm.
Like a neighborhood watch. Yeah, that would be interesting. I mean, a lot of stuff would get reported to the police eventually, though. I feel like
Yeah. I mean, but not all of it.
just
I don't know.
stay informed.
And people might not want to report their loved ones.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, there could be issues. Another thing I thought that, well, maybe you could, instead of using like facial recognition, like let's say your son is going to school and you want to watch him as he walks away, like to go to school. Like maybe there could be like a tracker or even a phone app that like tells the cameras where he is, so their mom can watch them from camera to camera to camera to make sure they're safe as they walk around the neighborhood, like the immediate neighborhood, like not maybe all the way across town, but just until they get on the bus or subway stop, whatever however distance that is. So it's not they're just looking for crime, they're looking to see that their loved one's safe.
Yeah, any kind of data that's collected or surveillance footage that's being stored somewhere is eventually sold to companies to target people with advertising. So that's my eventual beef with the whole surveillance thing, even if it's local and being done by local people who are careful about who they're protecting and all that stuff.
You think people would because normally it's like, well, okay, we're using our phones for everything, so there's a corporation that's sharing the data and selling the data. But if it's all controlled by people, you think there would be some slimy neighbor who would sell the data to Palantir or to some data mining thing, just like the corporations do?
If that same neighborhood is looking for a criminal through their own surveillance, and they're expecting a criminal to be present there, that's why they're surveilling them. I feel like they can definitely have a person who can be compromised to sell that data back to a corporation. If a criminal can exist, it can be either type of criminal. You know,
Yeah,
people can be easily bought.
Yeah.
I don't
And then
know.
hackers stuff too.
Yeah.
It depends on how much money that would be worth. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know because if it's a lot of data, and because most of the time they want the data to sell stuff. Like, I don't think the government pays that much for data. It's all businesses who want to sell stuff because government's always broke, right? Individual programs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just a thought. It's actually a thought I had years ago. I never did it for the podcast. I guess it's not super funny per se.
It's an interesting direction, definitely. Yeah.
I don't think I would use it. I don't care about what my neighbors are doing. I'm the type of guy. Sometimes I stay up all night playing video games and shit, and I wonder if the neighbors are like seeing the light on and thinking, "What's that guy doing?" Like, am I like the creepy guy in the neighborhood? If I'm rehearsing my butt sweat comedy jokes, and they hear it through the window, like, do they know what's going on?
They start posting about you on your own app.
Yeah. Any shows or podcasts or social medias or anything else you want to promote?
Instagram is Rishheer, RISHHEER. I am doing some mics within Grand Rapids, White Tortoise Aid Society, and then I do a garage bar.
My Instagram is Norman Dwayne Comedy. In Ann Arbor in a couple weeks, I got Will Harvey's Hot Set comedy show where you eat a ghost pepper and do like 10 minutes. That'll be at Hearsay.
I have a Twitch channel called Gamey McFitness where I build video game controllers into fitness machines, and then I stream me playing video games while exercising.
This has been a production of Planet Ant Podcast, powered by Pinecast.